showing so that I know who I'm calling on. Everybody good? We'll wait for Megan to reconnect. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and press record. And then my assumption is to start out like normal, and I'll say and spell my name and my title.
Recording in progress.
All righty, good morning, everybody. So I am Peter Perez, Peterperez, and I'm the Director of the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for the City of Killeen. This press conference is really just an opportunity for our media partners to share information and answer some questions that you may have about our preparations here in the City of Killeen for the upcoming winter weather. So whoever has the first question, looks like Mr. Moore, you have your hand raised.
Actually, can you maybe just give us like a quick overview of some of the things that you guys are doing?
Yeah, of course. So I can tell you that for City of Killeen internally, we've been meeting since Monday, kind of just going over different plans and working obviously with our transportation, making sure that we have sanding trucks set up. We've worked with our water division as well to ensure that they have what they need in order to continue operations and try their best to prevent pipes from freezing. Our fire and police departments are both already having an on-call list of extra officers and extra fire staff. They both also work to see which staff live closest so that if we need extra staff last minute and those staff maybe don't have a four-wheel vehicle to get to work, we can use one of our four-wheel vehicles to go get them and bring them in. We've also been working internally to provide staffing for the warming centers. I know Ms. Janelle Ford sent out that press release earlier today about our warming centers. And then we've also been working with our external partners on that as well. So we've also been really big on probably trying to push public messaging on how individuals can be prepared. We don't want everybody to try and get prepared today for something tomorrow. We were wanting that to start Sunday and Monday, so people have ample time to be ready, whether it's making sure that they have some food in the home, because I know not everybody buys, a week or 2 weeks worth of food at a time, but also knowing different ways that they can possibly keep their home if power does unfortunately go out. So there's different ways that we don't want to happen from last year in the winter storm. We had people who were putting barbecue pits inside the house, and that's very unsafe. So we want to make sure people know safe ways that they can heat their home rather than dangerous ways.
I guess then, are there external partnerships that you guys have? Like, are there partnerships with maybe Encore? If trees falling on power lines is a pretty common issue to cause power outages. Is there any partnership there where somebody can notify Encore if, hey, we saw this just happen, at this location, and they can take care of that?
Yes, the number one way to let Encore know that is by calling their outage number. And I can get that information for you if you'd like. There's also an app and everybody in this area is technically an Encore member because that's who provides the energy to the person you buy it from. And so that Encore maintains the power lines, the infrastructure, and then your retailer actually then buys it from Encore and sells it to you, the individual. So we can get that outage number and have that sent out as well. That's the number one way to do that. When the city gets it reported, if it's not touching a power line, we can normally go take care of it. If it's touching a power line, though, our personnel are not trained and don't have the safety equipment to really engage with that high electricity voltage. So our biggest concern then is to make sure people are staying away from the area. And then we also then will notify Encore that it's there.
Have you been doing any tree trimming in advance of the winter storm?
I wouldn't say it was because of the winter storm. We normally do tree trimming on public right-of-ways, making sure that our trees don't grow into the line. Once the trees start actually encroaching into the lines themselves and getting into that area, it then requires a specialist to come in and do it. So as far as city properties go and right-of-ways where we have trees, we try to prevent the trees from even reaching that point. So we do take care of that on an annual basis.
Okay, cool. And then for what you were doing to treat roads, a lot of people said, or a lot of agency leaders at Abbott's press conference yesterday basically telling people, look, once the freeze gets here, don't drive, don't chance it unless you absolutely have to. So you guys are putting that stuff down on the roads, but is it important to point out that that's for people that have to be out there?
Right. So if you think about our emergency personnel, our police and firefighters have to get back and forth to work. Also, the medical staffing at hospitals and long-term care centers, those are really those people that need to get to work. Obviously, in this area, we have a very large military base. So if the military base is calling them in, we try to make sure that we keep those routes open. So those are things. And we also work with the school districts as well to try and keep larger roads that the buses travel on treated. So that if they are going to be open, then they're able to try and do that in a more safe manner.
For everybody else, I mean, just in certain areas of the city, it could still be unsafe or very icy for people to drive, right?
Correct. Yeah, those actual neighborhoods, those smaller streets, most likely are not going to be able to get treated, and they're not going to get sand. We try to keep the larger roads, the arterial roads, free and open as much as we can.
And then if somebody has an issue where either the power goes out and they need heat and they don't have anywhere to go for that, or maybe a pipe breaks and they need water, is there any way that the city is helping with that?
So we do have warming centers that will be open starting tonight. So if somebody's home for some reason loses heat, or even water, and obviously if water pipes break, you don't want to stay in there with that as it's freezing. So being able to go to these warming centers is an option for all of those community members as well. If your water pipes break, our recommendation is still to call either the non-emergency police number or to call the water department outage number that we have posted on our website. So as that happens, we've beefed up our water division staffing and our on-call staffing so they can go out and turn off the water at the street where the meter is for you. If the breakage is on the homeowner side or the rental unit side, unfortunately, you'll have to call a plumber out to fix that because it'll be, under your sink or in your walls. And the city, we can't go in and break down your walls and fix that. But if it's on the city side, we will try our best to patch it in real time so that you can continue to have a water service. If we're unable to do that just due to the inclement of weather, then we'll turn off the water so that it's no longer leaking and spraying and causing more of an ice hazard.
If people need bottled water and they're unable to get it, is that something that you guys can help with, or that you're partnering with anybody to provide at this time?
So we're always prepared to do that, but at this time, we don't have any of that information because everybody currently still has water. And so as those houses are impacted, we're able to work with those individuals on a case-by-case basis to give them information that might better be suited for their situation.
Is that through the police department?
That non-emergency police number, those staff members that work that call center are actually able to tap into all the other departments. So the entire city is really working as a team to make sure that we know about everybody's resources and where to properly route people for proper information and the resources they need.
Okay, cool. Are there any other recommendations for, just how people can stay safe? Anything that people need to do last minute today to get ready for this winter storm?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Obviously, the first one is don't forget about any pets that you might have outside. I know our furry friends look like they have their own little winter coat, but these temperatures that are coming, especially the wind chill temperatures, they're going to be in the single digits, is going to be very cold. So bringing them inside to some sort of heated shelter is good. I know when I was younger and we had an outside dog, even just bringing them into the garage, because the garage is going to be much warmer than that outside dog house. We have kind of already touched base on roads. So unless you really have to be out on the roads, especially for our area, the National Weather Service Fort Worth is forecasting that this afternoon we'll start seeing rain. And then probably around 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. tonight is when we'll start seeing that transition into more sleet and ice mixture. So that's when everything will actually start freezing, is around that time frame. In the morning tomorrow is what they're expecting for us to continue to be getting that sleet and ice mixture. And then by noon tomorrow is when that precipitation should stop. However, just because it stopped raining or sleeting, the temperatures are going to be so cold that it's still going to be refreezing every night. So unless people have to be out on those roads, we really ask people to please not be. So go today if you have to and get some groceries if you haven't already. And you don't need groceries for next week. The one thing the National Weather Service has pointed out about the difference between this storm and last year's storm is last year's storm sat here for about a week and did precipitation, snow, and ice, as well as the freezing temperatures. This storm is not expected to give us that type of precipitation. It's just expected to stay cold through about probably Sunday. Sunday is when we'll start seeing the temperatures come back into the 40s, possibly the 50s. And then, starting Monday is when we'll have that gradual increase and things will for sure start thawing out. So you just need a couple of days worth of food and water to make sure you're able to sustain that at home.
Okay, sounds good. Well, that's all of my questions. So I guess if nobody has anything else, we're good. So,
does anybody else have any other questions?
Hi, this is Megan with KWTX. I was just curious if you could talk a little bit about the warming stations. Obviously, those things open every time it kind of, temperature drops below freezing, and there's those certain requirements. But last year, when those rolling power outages happened, I think there was kind of a switch in what kind of warming stations were needed, and that it wasn't for the homeless, but just waves of people that were needing shelter. Are you guys preparing more for that kind of thing to happen, or is it just the standard people that are on the streets and don't have a safe place to go? That's what's available right now.
So first, our warming centers are never just for our transient partners in the community. They're for anybody who might need, to get out of the cold. If you think sometimes, unfortunately, fires and emergencies in our personal lives don't happen when we're not at home during the day when it's nice and pretty. Most of the time they happen at night. So even if we had a house fire or an apartment fire and the warming center is open, that's always our first go-to where those people are taken to so they can have shelter. The key difference between what's happening this week over the next couple of days and what happened last year is last year was an actual disaster declared by the governor and the mayor. And so the electricity wasn't able to hold up, which then started impacting water, which then started impacting a lot of other things. In this particular storm, we're not expected to see those types of prolonged precipitation. So we're not expecting that, but we are prepared for that. So at this point in time, we do have warming centers that will open tonight, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. And that information was sent out because we will be changing locations. So the first night tonight will be at the Rosa Herford Community Center, which is at 2201 East Veterans Memorial Boulevard, and they open at 8 p.m. Thursday and Friday will be at the Moss Rose Community Center. That facility is owned by the Killeen Housing Authority, but they also have volunteers such as LULAC, Herencia Council, and the BFW Post of Texas, who comes and assists them and cooks those meals. So they'll actually be cooking dinner for folks. And then Saturday, right now, we're scheduled to also be at the Rosa Herford Community Center. And so anybody who's needing to get out of the elements is welcome at those warming centers. And if something were to turn into a disaster, that then activates our emergency management plans, where we have a sheltering plan and we have other sheltering partners who can provide more services.
Great, thanks. Do you know how many volunteers are working on that effort to kind of staff those places?
Yeah, so the Moss Rose Center is actually a really great resource in this community. So I know that LULAC Herencia normally has 3 to 4 people who are actually food safe certified by public health, so that they know proper cooking techniques, right temperature times, how to handle raw food. And then the facility itself is already kind of a mecca to our transient partners in town. They already provide resources in blue sky days when nothing's happening to those partners. And so they already have some supplies there, and they do drives throughout the year to gather more supplies for times just like this. And the BFW is also a great partner. They specifically are able to tap into some funds from the federal government to better assist any of our transient partners that might be veterans. And so they're a great partner to have, and they bring more volunteers as well to assist with cooking meals. Obviously, you can imagine cleaning up that facility when a large amount of people are in it is a great effort as well, keeping it stocked in the bathrooms and things of that sort.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Could you just maybe speak to how important it is to have those volunteers assist with this?
Yeah, we would not. I think if some of you have been in the area for a while, you remember the previous years before now. Our warming centers were strictly, you just came into a lobby, we had coffee, we probably had some snacks for you, and it was really just a place to sit or lay against the wall and stay out of the elements until in the morning. So with these partners, it's been so important, and we're very grateful because with that, they've been able to organize the feeding at 6 p.m. where the dinner starts, and they take that and run with it. They get food donations so that they're able to plan healthy meals. They always try to have vegetables, and they're able to provide more of a service to those community members than we're able to do on our own. All right, and the next hand I see up is Lauren Dodd.
Hi, hi, Mr. Perez. I think we covered a lot of bases. My only real question is, what was the thought process behind, like, why isn't the warming shelter going to be open? Why aren't the warming shelters going to be open during the day, especially considering on Friday and Saturday we're expecting wind chills in the single digits?
So we always have a flexible plan of what we look at things, and we can always tailor that plan to what's happening during that specific time of day. The reason why we plan this way in the beginning for them to close at 8 or 9 a.m. is because our transient partners have other resources they can go to. We have, downtown businesses and gas stations that they're able to go in, use the restroom, seek shelter from the cold, and as well as other transient services in town do feedings throughout the day, and they do clothing and they do shelter as well. So one of the large projects that's probably going to take some time is the Homeless Coalition is trying to get a better, I guess you can say, situational awareness on all of those services and all of the community partners that offer those, so that information is able to be shared more easily. The transient population knows about it because that is the resources that they use almost on a daily basis. But for us, the biggest gap that we've seen continuously is that overnight piece. So that's where the city's been able to come in and provide some staffing to keep something open overnight, where primarily all of those other services are closed.
Got it. And then also one more question. If there are roads or overpasses or streets that somehow are so iced over that sanding and whatnot doesn't work, will the city provide us with a list of road closures and whatnot in real time?
I can't speak to that directly, but as I said earlier, this press conference is being recorded, so I'll make sure Ms. Janelle has that. I will tell you that you can all let everybody know that sometime tonight, the North W.S. Young Bridge will be closed. So that's the one over by the Rosa Herford Community Center, just north of it, between them and the KIC headquarters. So that bridge will be closing sometime tonight. And is expected to stay closed at least through Thursday midday. Our transportation staff will reevaluate the road conditions on there the next day and see if it's able to be opened or not. So that one's kind of an easy one because that's our main elevated bridge that we have. The interstate technically is not owned by us. That's managed by TxDOT. All of our other bridges and streets are managed by transportation, and they do go out and they look for slick spots. They look for if the sand can help, or if they see that maybe the sand's not going to solve the problem and it's just going to stay icy. So something that is done is if people see that there are slick streets, that's again, unless they need some sort of direct medical emergency or assistance for something right at that time, we're asking people don't overload 911. That's what that non-emergency police number is for, to let people know. And like I said, they have the contacts in streets. So as they get phone calls about very slick streets, this happened during the winter storm last year, they were able to dispatch transportation units out to those streets to inspect them. And then if they're closed, we do put up signs. We have lots of street closure signs ready to go on trucks already that we'd be able to put up so that people don't use that. That would be my other request to the public is if you come across one of those street closure signs, please don't move it yourself or navigate around it. We have put that there for a reason. It's for the public safety. Whereas if you go around that, it's almost like if you're at the zoo and you decide to go behind the cages, you're kind of putting yourself at risk. And so please stay outside of those areas once they're closed.
Okay, that's it for me. Thank you so much, Mr. Perez.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, any other questions? I don't see any more hands raised. All right. Well, not seeing any more. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And if you have any other questions, please just make sure you reach out to our communications team again, and they'll be more than happy to get those answered for you.
All right, awesome. Thanks a lot, Peter.
Thank you all.
Recording stopped.